It's 3:04 a.m. Your eyes open, no alarm, no sound, just awake. Your heart isn't racing, but it's not calm either. It's alert, listening. You check your phone, same time as last night, and the night before that. You call it insomnia. You call it stress. You call it broken sleep. It's none of those things. What's happening to you at 3 a.m. has almost nothing to do with your job, your phone, or your anxiety. It's older than all of that, older than electricity, older than clocks. Here's the part that should unsettle you. You are not the only one, not even close. Sleep researchers have a quiet, uncomfortable name for it: the witching hour of insomnia. Millions of people, across every country, every time zone, every lifestyle, jolted awake in that same narrow window. Not 1 a.m., not 5 a.m., almost always somewhere between 2 and 4. Doctors will tell you it's stress hormones, blue light, poor sleep hygiene. They're not wrong, but they're not telling you the whole story either. Because for most of human history, for nearly all of it, waking up in the middle of the night wasn't a disorder, it was the plan. In the 1990s, a historian named Roger Ekirch went looking for something nobody thought to look for. Not medical records, not sleep labs, court depositions, diaries, medical texts, literature going back 600 years. And buried inside thousands of these documents, he kept finding the same two words, over and over, used so casually that nobody had questioned them before: first sleep and second sleep. Not a metaphor, not a turn of phrase, a daily expected event. People across pre-industrial Europe went to bed shortly after dark, because after dark there wasn't much else to do, and slept for a few hours. Then, in the dead of night, they simply woke up and they stayed awake for an hour, sometimes 2. They didn't panic, they didn't call it a problem. They got up in the dark and they did things. They prayed, they talked with a spouse, they tended the fire, they visited neighbors, walking through pitch-black villages to sit by someone else's hearth. Some had sex. Physicians at the time even noted it was a favored hour for conception. Then, eventually, they lay back down. And they had a name for that gap too, the watch, because somebody in the room, in the house, in the village, needed to be awake in the dark, just in case. Ekirch found this pattern in letters from French peasants, in the diaries of English gentry, in African tribal accounts, in Central American records. Different continents, different centuries, same rhythm. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If segmented sleep was universal, if it was the default setting for the human species for thousands of years, then what changed? And more importantly, did it actually go away, or did we just stop noticing it? In 1992, a psychiatrist named Thomas Ware decided to test something nobody had tested in the modern era. He took a group of people and did something almost cruel by today's standards. He put them in a room with 14 hours of darkness a night. No screens, no lamps, no streetlights leaking through the blinds, just darkness, for 14 hours, night after night, roughly matching the natural night length of a pre-industrial winter. He wanted to see what would happen to modern humans, stripped of modern light. Within weeks, something strange happened. Their sleep split in 2. They fell asleep quickly, slept for about 4 hours, then woke, not groggy, not distressed, but calm and alert, and stayed awake for 1 to 3 hours. Then fell into a second sleep until morning. The exact pattern Ekirch had found in 600-year-old court records, reappearing, on command, in a research lab in Maryland. Ware's subjects weren't broken. Their bodies had simply reverted to a setting that modern light had been suppressing the whole time. Here's what makes this even stranger. During that middle window of wakefulness, Ware's subjects showed elevated levels of prolactin, a hormone associated with calm, with relaxation, almost identical to the levels seen in animals right after mating, or in humans in a meditative state. In other words, the body wasn't waking up in crisis, it was waking up into something closer to a resting vigil, a built-in checkpoint. Your circadian rhythm was never a single unbroken block of 8 hours. That's not ancient, that's not even natural, that's a marketing invention from the last 150 years. So if your ancestors' bodies expected a middle-of-the-night waking window as standard operating procedure, the real question isn't why you're waking up at 3 a.m., it's why you ever expected not to. But this still doesn't explain the specific hour. Why not midnight? Why not 5 a.m.? Why does the body, again and again, choose that narrow band around 3? This is where the story stops being about culture and starts being about survival. Your cortisol, The hormone tied to alertness doesn't sit flat all night. It dips to its lowest point in the deep hours after midnight, then begins a slow climb hours before you ever open your eyes for the day. That climb doesn't start gently at dawn. It starts in the dark, around 3 a.m. For a modern person in a locked bedroom, that's just a hormone doing its job. For a human sleeping in the open or behind a thin wall of hide and branches, 40,000 years ago, that hormone spike had a purpose. It was a scheduled check, a body waking itself mid-cycle to lift its head and listen. Is the fire still burning? Is that a sound outside or nothing? Is everyone in the group still breathing? Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer groups, communities with no clocks, no electricity, sleeping essentially the way our ancestors did for millennia, have recorded this same thing. Fragmented, watchful sleep. Multiple wakings through the night. Not exhaustion, vigilance. Because a species that slept in one uninterrupted, unconscious block for 8 straight hours, in the open, in the dark, with predators moving through the same landscape. That species doesn't survive long enough to have descendants. The ones who did survive were the ones whose bodies automatically surfaced them into alertness partway through the night. Light sleepers, watchers, built-in sentries. You are descended, unbroken, from every single one of them. And that inheritance didn't get erased. It just got homeless. It has nowhere to go in a world with locked doors, silent streets, and nothing to listen for. So it just wakes you up anyway. At 3, every time. Here's the moment this all comes together. You are not malfunctioning at 3 a.m. You are executing a program that is somewhere between 40,000 and 200,000 years old. A nightly security check, written into your hormones before language existed, before agriculture, before fire was guaranteed. Your body doesn't know the door is locked. It doesn't know the nearest predator is a raccoon 3 streets away, if that. It doesn't know electricity exists. It just knows, middle of the night, time to check. And here is the part that should genuinely stop you. The anxiety you feel in that moment, the racing thoughts, the sudden replay of every mistake you've ever made, the tight chest, none of that is the cause of your waking. It's what happens after. Ancient wakefulness gave people a fire to tend, a person to talk to, a task in the dark. Modern wakefulness gives you nothing to do. So your mind, wide awake and scanning for a threat that isn't there, turns inward. It finds the only danger available, your thoughts, your regrets, your fears about tomorrow. You inherited a perfectly good alarm system. You just took away everything it was designed to alert you to, and left it screaming into an empty room. For over 100 years, we've treated the 3 a.m. waking as a flaw, something to medicate, something to fix, something wrong with you, specifically, in a world where everyone else is apparently sleeping straight through the night without a second thought. They're not. Millions of them are lying in the dark at that exact same hour, quietly convinced they're the only one broken enough to be awake. They're not broken. They're remembering. For most of the time our species has existed, the person who woke in the dark and lifted their head to listen wasn't failing at sleep. They were the reason everyone else got to keep sleeping. So the next time it's 3 a.m. and your eyes open on their own and the room is too quiet and your thoughts are too loud, consider, just for a moment, that nothing has gone wrong. Somewhere behind 200,000 years of nights, something in you just did exactly what it was built to do. It stood watch.